Hello, friends. How are you? How's things? How's life? How's your world? I hope it's good. Everything here is fantastic. This is my 10-inch Johnson. I've shown it to you before. It is starting to fail. I believe it just needs new capacitors. I hope that's all that's wrong with it, at least. It's starting to cut out, and when it does play, it's hissing and buzzing and popping, and that's generally a sign that the capacitors have dried out and they need replaced. So that's what I'm going to do to it and see if it fixes it. But this one was at my bandmate's house, and so this was my practice amp when I was there. And then here I have my Fender Rumble 500. So I only really need this at his house, and since we're practicing here these days, I figured this was a prime opportunity to tear it down and to fix whatever's wrong with it. And I'm just now getting to it. Like, I had to actually literally come down here and turn this camera on to find the time, because I just haven't. That's it. So this is not what I wanted to talk about, but that's okay. I had an interesting week last week, and I want to talk about AI because I am a person involved in tech, and I'm a person who is a prime target for being replaced by AI. And people in my life ask me, about this new AI and what's going to happen to my job and, where I'm going to go and whatever. I've never been one to really. I'm not afraid. Let's put it that way. I'm not scared of the AI. I think that there are parts of the AI that will be problematic for a lot of people and a lot of jobs. And it's a disruptive technology. There have always been disruptive technologies, and there always will be disruptive technologies, and those disruptive technologies are going to put people out of work. That's just going to happen, and it's going to continue to happen. I think the fear of it happening to creatives is a kind of unfounded fear. People are going to use it, sure, but I think that puts a premium on the head of people who can do actual creative work. That's just a thought that I have. I don't know that that's true or not. That's just kind of how I feel about it. As a creative person, I'm not going to stop pursuing creativity because ChatGPT can do it better or whatever. That's just not how that works in my head. But then again, I'm not relying on my creativity for my financial well-being. Not to say that the people who are doing it wrong. That's not what I'm saying at all. In fact, I would honestly congratulate. I'm happy that there are people who are able to make their living as creatives. I'm just not one of them. I've never been a creative. I mean, I have made significant amounts of money with my creativity, but I'm not one who is willing to put it all on the line for my creativity and say that it's going to be my primary source of income. So, with all that said, I spent a week with Google's Gemini Pro 2.5 Pro, which is the version of Gemini that's supposed to be good at programming, and that's what I asked it to do. And I decided to do this because I was working on something at work that I felt was like a prime candidate for AI because it's a very simple WordPress plugin. I'm designing a WordPress plugin for our sites that help us control, manage, stipulate when certain events can run on those websites. And so it's a very basic plugin. It's like my initial version was like 20 lines of code. It's ballooned a little bit just because that didn't have any sort of user input validation, or, it didn't have basic safety nets, that it's now probably 60 lines of code or something like that. But it's a very basic plugin. And this is the kind of thing that easily anybody could say, oh, maybe Gemini could do that for me. And so they open it up and they do the thing. And what I found was both good and not good. Gemini almost got it right out of the box. It got close. It got really close. It got close enough that I don't believe a person with without technical knowledge could have figured out the prompts to ask it to fix itself. That being said, I didn't try that. I didn't try to use it like a person who doesn't know anything. I tried using it like a programmer who knows what they're doing, just to kind of speed up the process. Like, can you help me do this faster? I would say ultimately in the end it did not. My version of the code worked much quicker than Gemini's, but I had a good time using it. And what I found in the end was it got me close enough that when I've encountered problems, it was able to fix itself with some prompting, but it also still hallucinated. And that's the part that I want to talk about, because if you don't know what you're doing and you ask a program to do something for you, then you have no way of validating that what the program did is valid. Like, it's just, how would you know? You won't know because you didn't do the work, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so if you ask the program to do something that you don't understand, how can you validate that program's output? How can you say yes or no, that's correct, that's not correct? Here was the interesting part. At one point in this process, Gemini lied to me. It blatantly made shit up. Like, it just invented stuff that doesn't exist. And I called it out on it. And the reason I've been using Gemini is because it has this really awesome, like, show my thought process. And you can watch it think through the process. It'll tell you in plain language what it thinks, what it's thinking about, what it's doing in the background, sources that it's finding. And so I challenged it. It gave me some code that just, it made up some WordPress hooks that don't exist. They've never existed. It's never been a thing. And I called it out on it. I said, those hooks don't exist. Where did you find this information? And here's the cool part. I'm just going to read this because I think it's very interesting. Google Gemini said, interpreting the user's challenge. I am now carefully dissecting the user's initial accusation, I accused it, and subsequent request. The core of their message is a direct challenge to the origin of some, quote, hooks. I'm meticulously breaking this down into initial contact and the specifics to determine the right path forward. Headline, pinpointing the errors. I've hit a roadblock. My initial analysis revealed the user's challenge, but further investigation uncovers discrepancies in my own database. Searching for the exact hooks they mentioned yields nothing, a stark contrast to what I initially believed. This necessitates a complete reevaluation of my understanding and immediate corrective action. Refining the approach. I'm now revisiting the unreliable hook upgrader process complete after the user's feedback. I initially dismissed it as unusable, yada, yada, yada. Rectifying the hook errors. I've admitted my error about non-existent hooks. Now I'm meticulously analyzing this arguments and finding the skin, whatever. Basically, through its thinking process, it went, oh. And it realized it needed to say sorry, and it did. It said, I apologize. Yeah, I made those up. I didn't copy down the whole text of what it said, but basically it came down to, hey, I'm sorry I lied to you. I made that stuff up. I shouldn't have. Oh. I made that stuff up. I shouldn't have made that stuff up. Here's how you fix it. And then it gave me the process for fixing it, which I thought was cool. I thought that was a really interesting way that it handled my feedback of saying, hey, I think you're lying to me. It ultimately did correct the code correctly. But again, these are things that, like, I don't know that the average person asking this thing to write a plugin for them could have figured out. I don't know that said fictitious person who is writing or trying to write this code could have asked the correct questions. Well, anyway, I don't know that an average person could have come up with the problem and asked Gemini to fix it and figured out how to go from there. I did, just because this is what I do for a living. And it doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me at all. Because while what Gemini did is egregious and is ultimately going to fail, it did in fact make my job a little easier. I was able to use it to write a README file. I was able to use it to clean up some code that I wrote. It wrote it in a better fashion. It did that very, very well. It helped me rename entire file structure variables to make sure that everything was in line with WordPress's best practices. It did a very good job of helping me, which is ultimately, I think, the way I would like to use AI going forward. Like, you're super smart, help me. Like, I'll tell you what to do, just go do it. And that way, we both can tag team this process. And in that, it was fun. It was a good experience. Ultimately, I'm using my version of the code with some cleanup done by Gemini, but it was neat. It was a neat experience, and I'm going to keep playing with it, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not at all afraid of it. It's not going to replace me. It might replace people who are very, very new to software development. And it might replace people who think they know how to fix amps, because none of these caps look bad to me, at least on the power transformer side of things. I still have to take the control board off and check those capacitors, but all of these capacitors look just fine. None of them are popped or burst or anything, so I'll have to test them. And then try to figure out what's wrong with this. So maybe Google Gemini can tell me that. Do you have thoughts or comments or questions about AI? You should put them down below, or software development, or WordPress, or any of that stuff. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here, as always. Thank you for watching the video. Please like it. Please subscribe if you're new. Please ask me questions so I have future topics. I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's 1,000 plus little things happy, successful people do differently. We are learning 15 things real friends do differently. Number 6, they accept each other as is. Trying to change a person never works. People know when they are not accepted in their entirety, and it hurts. A real friend is someone who truly knows you and loves you just the same. Don't change so people who like you. Be yourself, and the right people will love you. Love the real you. If you're feeling like changing something about your friend, ask yourself what change you can make in yourself instead. I know that last line is wishy-washy bullshit, but the part about not changing yourself, as somebody who grew up needing to be liked, I changed myself constantly to fit the situation, and ultimately ended up sad because none of the people that I had during that time in my life are true friends. That's important.